Hello and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am Luana Bradford and I am so excited to be here with another amazing author, Miss Nancy Matthews. Nancy, how's it going?
It's going so good. I'm with you. Of course it's good. And your audience.
Yay. Well, Nancy, before we get started, I'd like to tell the audience a little bit about you. Nancy is obviously an author, but she's a best-selling author. This isn't her first rodeo when it comes to authorship. She is a speaker, she's a teacher, she is a global leader and influencer, and she is the co-founder of the Women's Prosperity Network and founder of the PeopleSoft Skills Academy. And she is just making an impact, blazing trails in this new world that we're experiencing. And I'm so honored and privileged that she is my friend, colleague, and joining me here today. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Luana, for so many gifts and beautiful things that you've brought to my life. And thank you for bringing this conversation and this show to others because books, I love books. I love to read books. I love to write in them. I love to share books, and the power of the pen, aptly named, my friend.
Thank you. Well, we're going to be talking about your new book, The One Philosophy, and this is I think your third edition
of this book,
A Better Life for You and Humanity. And I'd like to ask you first, before we get into the meat of the book, why at this point in your life, and I know you've always had a passion to make the world a better place, but why at this point in your life was it so important to reassess the message that you had in this book and open it up for even a broader reach and appeal?
Yeah, so I would imagine your audience has noticed more disruption, division, people, at opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of their views and opinions, and, this dividedness that's occurred in our world. And I was really inspired to release this enhanced edition, this new edition of The One Philosophy, to provide more tools and resources for us all to get back to what we know to be true, that every single person does have a light in them, has good in them. And while we may not understand why they take certain actions or have certain beliefs, we would never think that way, but they're still a human being. And that's what the One Philosophy is all about. It's giving us practical tools to guide us and support us in seeing beyond some of those differences into the beautiful hearts and souls that exist in all people, no matter how covered up they might be, by dirt and grime and challenges and disappointments and fears and frustrations. Like that's all that gets in the way. So if we can clear that away from ourselves, it'll help us be more connected with each other.
I love that. And, right now, just here in the US and then around the world, there is an expansion as it relates to understanding and creating communities that embrace diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. Do you see this as a tool to help not only individuals, entrepreneurs, but also businesses, corporations, to become more expansive and more accepting of others?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the places that this really makes a difference inside of corporations is anyone who is on the front lines, so to speak, in customer service. Managers and subordinates, employees on their teams being able to interact at a higher level, because think about it. Anytime there's a disappointment, frustration, anger, betrayal, like there's other people involved. So if we can learn to use the One Philosophy and the principles that are shared there to help us seek understanding rather than seeking to be understood, then we can come together.
It made me think about, I think you have in there I believe it was Dale Carnegie, and I'm going to kind of twist the quote a little bit, but he was basically saying when you are interested in other people, then you in turn become interesting.
Correct.
Right? It's leaning in rather than expecting people to lean to you. Does that?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why, and this goes to the foundation of what the one philosophy is all about. So think about when you think somebody is the one, the person who's going to be your next best client, the person who's got to hook up to front row tickets to some show you want to see, right? The person who's the one that's going to be your partner, your spouse. When we think we're in the presence of someone who's the one, we tend to treat that person with more respect. We listen more closely. We make sure that they know we're interested in them, that we value them, right? If we think they're the one. And the premise and the invitation for the one philosophy is to treat every single person you meet with that same level of interest, excitement, and enthusiasm. Because what you're doing is responding to every human being's most basic need, which is to feel that they matter, to be seen, and to be heard. So that's kind of an expansion of that sentence you just shared from Dale Carnegie, be interested in them. Like, doesn't it feel good when somebody's like, oh, tell me more? Really? Oh, how do you feel when someone does that with you? You're like, oh, wow, they like me, right?
Yeah.
And even though it's not about seeking approval and anything like that, the nature of this human experience is we like to be liked, and it makes us feel good. So when you make somebody feel good by being in your presence, you're opening up the space for the next level of connection and relationship, where they will be more open with you, more honest with you. They'll feel safe with you to tell them what really matters to them. And just think for a moment the impact that's going to have when you're meeting with a prospective customer, and they feel safe to tell you what they really want instead of, oh, this person's just trying to sell me. Like, how are you making them feel? Whether it's in your family, your business, at the supermarket, like everywhere. I'm a little passionate about it. You probably figured that out.
No, that's good. The one thing that you said in your book, is you said when we think of someone as the one, it means that we know something about them that is something that we want. So basically,
Yeah.
I interpreted it as
Mm-hmm.
it showcases my selfishness, right? I'm
Yeah.
looking at how am I going to benefit from this?
Mm-hmm.
But then you're telling us I need you to turn that, dime on its head and look at it from what can you bring to the table, to that relationship.
Yeah. What can you bring? That was beautifully said. And the wake up call I had around the one philosophy and why I created the book, and I've been teaching on it for so many years, was I was getting ready to have a meeting with someone, and I was like, oh, she's the one who's going to do this. And this one, oh, maybe this will happen when I have this meeting with her. And I just paused in that moment and observed my own behavior at how I was treating her, elevating her, putting her up on a pedestal. My behavior, my interest level had changed. And I was like, wow, isn't it interesting that when we think someone's the one, when we think they can do something for us, we pay more attention to them.
Mm.
And when I had that wake up call, I started my own personal experiment, and I started treating every single person that I met with that same level of interest, excitement, and enthusiasm. And here's where the one philosophy gets really good. When I started doing that, more opportunities, like I would just be talking to someone who I might have kind of dismissed or not paid much attention to. And it turns out we had a connection. We had a similar vision. They were working on something similar to me. They had a resource for me to go to. Like, when you start by being the one who treats them in that way, others in that way, opportunities and possibilities just open up so beautifully. And I really know that this is how we're meant to be with each other, to have those opportunities reveal.
Yeah, I agree, and I know just being around you, the one thing that I've noticed, especially in the live events that you have, both with you and Trish, um, and and even I guess all three of you really. I think your sister Susan, but what I notice is when you're having your big events and you go on and there's a break, and then people rush you to talk to you. All of you are very focused on like that first touch point. You engage that person and then you go to the next person. It's not like you're trying to be everything to everyone at once where your attention is divided. And that has a profound impact, on people. Like you said, you want to be noticed, you want to feel that you matter, you want to be heard. And when someone can pause, from a sea of people and stop and give you that eye contact and make that connection, that's profound.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. And yeah, I invite all of you watching this to try it on. Do your own experiment. What happens when you show up in that way for others? And like just really be fully present. And here's a little teaching point I'll offer as well. Sometimes you can't be fully present when someone wants your full attention, right? There may be things happening on. So don't pretend to be paying attention, because they can feel that. Instead, communicate. I know that you want to share this with me, and I really do want to hear it. I'm distracted right now. Let me get this done, and then I'll come over, and I really do want to hear. Like, what a difference that is, instead of, feel, oh yeah, they weren't really listening. Like, we've all been in that scenario, right?
Right. And I'm certain to our listening audience, if any of you are parents or caregivers of children, you know that feeling where you're really busy and they want mommy and daddy's attention.
Yes.
Right.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because the way that I learned this was from my daughter. We were driving in the car one day, and she picked her up from school, and I left my work in the middle of the day to pick her up so I could have quality time. And this was a routine that we had. She gets in the car and she's chattering on and and she goes, "Mom, you're not listening to me." I was like, "Whoa." I thought I was listening, but no, I had all this stuff in my head. And that moment in time got me to recognize when I was multitasking with my ears, right? I had things in my head. I was listening in my head and half listening to her. And I made a commitment that day that I will be fully present and be aware when I'm not being present. And that's really important for us to recognize.
I want to read one area in one section of your book. And you said, remember, your role is to be the one. Your role is to be the cause. The effect takes care of itself. Consider the law of gravity. When you throw a ball into the air, the cause, you do not focus or question whether the ball will come down, the effect. You simply know and trust that it will. In fact, you cannot stop gravity from having its effect on the ball. The same is true about being the one. Step out in faith that being the one is the certain path to living your best life and enjoying the rich rewards and fulfillment that you desire. It is also the certain path to adding the value to the lives of everyone you meet, and in doing so, you are playing the essential role in healing and uniting humanity. That in itself is your book. I mean, I feel if no one got anything else out of all this rich content, that's pretty weighty. Right? And understanding that we can be these shapeshifters of humanity. We can be that healing balm. So can you just dig a little bit deeper into that for us?
Yeah. So thank you for pulling out that nugget, because trusting the process of being the one first will return to you everything that you desire, and that's just the giving and receiving, the ebb and the flow. That's the way nature rolls. Like, I think that's probably the most challenging piece for most people, especially when you're feeling, a little rushed or a little desperate, or you got to pay your bills, or you're in a hurry and you've got all these demands on you, to say, okay, you know what? When you're feeling that, let me see who I can go add value to right now. Because I know when I give, I shall also receive. And the reason that I created, the principles in the book to guide people, the reason I created the People Skills Academy was to support people on a daily basis of how to be a better human, which is about trusting that process and letting go of some hurts and moving beyond, so that you can, let me tell you, when you really embrace this philosophy and step out in faith, the storehouse is revealed to you through relationships, through people, through prosperity, in so many ways. Like, it's how we're meant to be. And if I bring, let's say I walk into a room and I just had a nasty interaction with somebody, or I'm worried about my bills, or I'm, bringing the energy of, fear, doubt, worry, anger. If I bring that into the room, you've experienced this, right? If you bring that into the room, the other people are going to feel it, no matter how much you think you're hiding it. Your energy, I often like to refer to it as the music underneath. Like, people can hear your music before you even speak a word. They can feel you. And that being able to bring an energy of love and curiosity and faith into every moment, that's healing humanity, rather than distrust and what did he say and judgment, and like that's how we heal humanity, one by one, each of us being the one.
I love that you said that people can hear your music. They can feel you, basically your rhythm.
Yeah.
And I was in a social setting a couple weeks ago, and an individual came in. It's a small group of us, but was very dark, as far as just the energy. And when he left, we all looked around, and one person said, "Gosh, now we can breathe."
And whatever was happening with this person was unsaid, right?
Right. It was unsaid, but we just all just felt, you could feel the tension in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Oprah Winfrey talks about this in the sense of we're responsible for the energy that we bring, because it impacts everything around us. Like, if you think about, a pool of water and you drop something in, it has a ripple effect. Well, that's what we're doing when we go into any environment. We're bringing that energy in and we have a ripple. So I want to be the ripple of happiness and possibility and opportunity and love. That's what I want my ripple to be. What do you want yours to be?
Yes.
I know you do that.
Yes. Well, like Maya Angelou says, be the rainbow in someone else's cloud.
I'm drinking that in. That was a new one for me. Thank you.
Now, I want to ask you, with the one philosophy and where we stand right now, the world is still battling this pandemic. Yeah. We know there's a lot of angst, a lot of concern, a lot of grief, just a lot is happening. How can individuals take this book, and whether they're dealing with emotional, mental, spiritual challenges, how can this help to give them that anchor that they need to rise above the ash and trash and the yuck of life?
Yeah, there's plenty of yuck, right? That spills onto us from others. And within the book, there's a few things that will be beneficial. So number one is the 6 guiding principles that just take them in, start practicing them, and observe how things shift in your life. The second is I've provided some practices to help you shift your energy and your feelings in a moment, because as you shift, things around you will shift, just like we were talking about. So I've got some practices in the book that are simple and quick for you to implement. Like, just observe, oh, I'm feeling really anxious, or I'm feeling really upset that this person did this. There's 2 specific ones in there that are going to help you make a quick shift, like on a dime. The third thing I would say is the sixth principle of the one philosophy is about exercising your mind and your spirit daily. And I give you practices for some journaling, some reflection, from intentionality of who you want to be. So there's real practical tools inside of that to move you forward.
And you mentioned your People Skills Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Is this book one of the foundational principles of the Academy, and do you use it in your curriculum?
Yeah, so yes, we use it in the curriculum, and the People Skills Academy was actually born out of, I've been speaking on the one philosophy since 2010. And the constant that I hear every time I speak on it, so I'm on stage and I'm sharing about the one philosophy and treating each other as the one, and really like do this with me, friends. Imagine a world where everywhere you go, people treat each other as the one with this level of respect. Like, isn't that a beautiful world? And so as I'm sharing this, right, you're nodding your head, right? As I'm sharing this from stage and I see people nodding their heads saying, yeah, I try to be that way. I do. I believe in that, but it's not always easy. Bob's a real jerk. And do you know what so-and-so did to me? And can you believe, like, how am I supposed to see that person as the one? And what I recognized is that if we had better people skills, if we could have tools to support us in understanding others and also communicating more clearly, because we don't always communicate clearly what it is that we want. And if we had tools for compassionate communication, that this is going to further us all being the one. So they stopped teaching people skills. I don't know. Like, where do you learn this except by chance? And so under the people skills umbrella, there's a combination of personal mindset things for what we need to look at and shift within ourselves, as well as skill sets as it relates to being in the workplace, in your family, in business. I taught a class the other night and we were talking about the power of words and how you choose the words to elicit more of what you want with other people. And I gave this one quick lesson on when you want someone to do something, give them the power of choice. Don't just say to your husband, honey, do the dishes. Don't just say to your child, do you want to take it's time to get in the bath or it's time to go to bed. Give them the power of choice, because human beings feel in control when they get to make a choice. And we want to feel in control. So in this scenario, say, honey, would you rather do the dishes before the football game or after? It's implied you're doing the dishes, but then the other person gets to choose. And they're more likely to say yes. With kids going to bed, do you want to go to bed in 5 minutes or 10 minutes? This works really good with 3-year-olds because they have no conception of time. 3 minutes, when they get a little older, they figure it out. But so I'm teaching this lesson, and one of the students in the class, I was looking at her and I was like, did you want to share something? She's like, thank you for saving my marriage.
Wow.
I hadn't realized how I was, talking at my husband and making demands of him. And like, this is going to be a huge game changer for us. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Little things that they're not teaching us in mainstream in school. In fact, they're teaching us too much of the opposite, especially when you get on social media and we could get into all of that, but we won't. Maybe that'll be another day. We'll have a conversation.
Well, let me ask you and maybe you have had someone say, okay, I understand the 6 principles, but I'm scared that if I am the one for everyone, if I'm showing that, then someone may take advantage of me.
So here's how I would respond to that. And it has to do with faith, trusting that the people you're meant to be of service to will be placed in your path so you get all the right people. And if you are feeling taken advantage of or not valued, that means you haven't cultivated your own self-worth enough to be able to set boundaries where you don't feel guilty about saying no to someone, because it's okay to say no. So that's a very intricate dance. And that's why with the One Philosophy and with the People Skills Academy, it's a practice. You don't do this one time and bam, you got it. Like every day you get the opportunity to practice your people skills, don't you? Right? Every day, many times throughout the day. So there's really a combination of cultivating your own intuition, learning to trust yourself more and more, and then being able to also trust that if you say no, that's the right answer, both for you and the other person.
That brings me to, and I think that's part of your, I think it's principle number 4, where you talk about having that 100% responsibility, taking responsibility for your life. And I know some people struggle with that. And I think owning our decisions, owning the things that happen in and around us. Can you share with us a little bit about that particular principle?
Sure. And it's, I'm close to say it's the most important one, because it gives you the opportunity to gain control of what you're experiencing again. So it's the most important one, and it's probably the most challenging one. So owning your life with 100% responsibility means taking a look at all the things you're experiencing and saying, I'm responsible for this in some way, some fashion. Now, crap happens. I get that. And when it happens, how we respond determines the very next type of experience we're going to have. So that's where owning it. Okay, this happened. Reflect, look back, what brought me to this place? How do I want to move forward? As opposed to, oh, this happened, now I can't do anything. Like you got no control of your life. And you end up in resentment or complacency or, depression even sometimes. So starting by taking control of whatever circumstance you're in right now and looking for small steps to move forward.
Nancy, can you believe we are almost out of time?
I don't want to go.
Thank you so much, Nancy. This has been great. But we'll have to have you back on. The one thing with Choose to Challenge platform, Power the Pen is one area. Would love to have you come and talk to us on the Choose to Challenge platform so we can help to expand and challenge the mindsets that are out there, and really talk a little bit more about people skills and how we can use these to be the best and highest version of ourselves, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Luana, for all you do and for having me today.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us. And to our listening audience, thank you for being a part of Power of the Pen. We will see you next time. Be inspired, expand your mind, read a book, and remember, the best is yet to come. Bye, everyone.
F. Scott Fitzgerald stated, "Don't write because you want to say something. Write because you have something to say." There are thousands of people waiting to read your book and hear your message. Be a guest on the Power of the Pen TV series. To complete your application and schedule your interview, call 404-618-2824 today. The world is waiting for you.